Hey guys, if you recall during my Sentinel TV restoration videos I mentioned that I was bidding on an auction on eBay for a TV chassis that has a 16-inch rectangular CRT that's compatible with that Sentinel set. Well, the box just arrived today. I have not opened it yet. It's heavy, but I didn't hear any glass or broken glass sounds when I carried it up to my place. So I'm gonna be in good shape. Oh boy, more packing foam. Got bags of this stuff in my back porch. I don't know what to do with it all. Yeah, some of these Aero bags too. Oh, all kinds of different packing materials. Shredded paper, foam sheets. The peanuts. Oh, and a box within a box. I guess I can't complain. I mean, I could have done a lot worse packing. It's promising. Here's a pretty good way to pack stuff, by the way, is to put a box within a box and use some decent insulation between the two. Huh, never saw this stuff before. Reminds me of the aluminum panels they use in aircraft, the like honeycomb panels. Cool. Alright, here's the TV chassis. That is indeed a 16 KP4A made by GE. They make good stuff. I hope so. I do actually have an entire TV chassis that claims was restored and is functional. I see some nice shiny caps down here. Well, I got the chassis out. Made a hell of a mess, but the TV survived intact. It does look like it's been restored pretty well. If I didn't know any better, it looks like my own handiwork. So I'm going to ask around online and see if somebody recognizes this chassis. Now, on the downside, I've tried testing this with both my CRT testers, and although I get a nice strong filament glow, I am getting zero emission on both of these. I mean, absolutely nothing. So what that seems to indicate is that the cathode is open. But that's kind of unusual. I mean, if the tube still has vacuum, and the filament's going to have absolutely zero. Unless there's actually a break in the filament, in the cathode connection. So it might actually be a bad connection inside the socket. I don't know if this run for a while. It might also be just because it was sitting out in the cold for a long time. So keep my fingers crossed on that. I spent a while trying to get some life out of this tube with both my testers and couldn't. So I pulled the tube out of the chassis, put it up on my workbench, took a closer look at the socket. In fact, I went so far as to actually remove this base cap here. And unfortunately there was no bad connection. I was able to clip the test leads directly on to the CRT terminals and still no good. Here's the inside of a cap, in case you're interested. This is the early sort of like an epoxy that would bind the plastic or bakelite cap to the black tube, and this is what so often dries up and loosens out over the years. A little bit of super glue these back on, no problem. In case you ever need to take one of these off to check connections like I did, a little bit of solder wick and a soldering iron, and you can actually unsolder these leads from the inside of the pins here pretty easily, and it just pulls right off. If you look up inside here, I think you can see the internal structure. What there is there's these metal leads come down through the glass tube, and then they are welded to the internal tube elements. And the filament's fine, but I think the one on the far right there, the cathode, that's the one that visually it looks fine, but I suspect there's a break somewhere inside the tube. I've heard there's a technique where you can pulse a little bit of high voltage through there and possibly re-establish that weld. Sort of like doing an arc weld inside a vacuum. Maybe I'll try that. In the meantime, though, I think I'll just box this up and put it away for a rainy day. Overall, I'm not really disappointed. I mean, shipping TVs is always a gamble, and I only paid $15 for this set, and I got a whole new, very nicely restored Motorola chassis that actually I can use most of in something on my back porch. And that would be this Motorola TV, which is the other set I picked up on my Cincinnati trip a few months ago. I kind of put it on the back burner because of the insect damage here. I fumigated this, and I've been kind of keeping it out here in quarantine time to make sure that those critters don't come back. But even though this set has a round 12-inch tube, the chassis is very, very similar to that one that came with the 16-inch picture tube. So I'm sure I can either use a lot of parts from it, or possibly even just use that whole chassis right in this one. And finally, here is that chassis for the Motorola set with the picture tube taken out. Now that I think about it, it's pretty obvious that this chassis was originally designed for a round picture tube, and they retrofitted it with this bracket to hold the rectangular picture tube. So if I was to take this off, I bet this chassis would work in that set I just showed you on my back porch. So all in all, I'm really not disappointed at all. All these parts are rare, they're all hard to get, hard to find, so even just to get all these nice tubes, the yoke and so on, it's a great deal in the end. That's all for now. I'm not sure what I'm going to be working on next, but I hope it'll be interesting.